Ireland has voted yes to the Lisbon Treaty, and finally the EU has a new perspective on the future.
For the past decade, the Union's leaders have been calling for a stronger EU, better able to respond to global challenges.
The Lisbon Treaty is the EU's answer to those challenges, a way of strengthening the Union's institutions to better serve the people of Europe.
But how will the treaty affect our everyday lives? And what will it do to strengthen democracy across Europe?
First, let's look back at how the Lisbon Treaty came into being. The EU's leaders made the Laeken Declaration in 2001, a call for Europe to define its future purpose and place in the world. What followed was the European Convention, chaired by former French President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. The convention came up with a blueprint for Europe's future, the European Constitution. But the Constitution was rejected by France and the Netherlands. So EU leaders refashioned it into the Lisbon Treaty, a document that retained key parts of the Constitution but dropped other more controversial aspects. Jean-Luc Dehaene, a Belgian MEP and formerly Prime Minister of his country, was Vice President of the European Convention.
And since the Convention, what happens at global level have demonstrated the necessity to have Europe there speaking with one voice, as well in environmental as in financial questions and so on. And there I think that part of the treaty will be for the future really the important part.
One of the most important elements of the Lisbon Treaty is its emphasis on the rights of EU citizens. The treaty incorporates the Charter of Fundamental Rights, which sets out the basic freedoms that EU citizens enjoy. Spanish MEP Íñigo Méndez de Vigo is a constitutional expert and was also a member of the European Convention, representing the European Parliament. So what's the significance of the Charter of Fundamental Rights for the people of Europe?
The Charter of Fundamental Rights shows the identity card of Europeans. We share common values, the values are in the Charter, and every legislation in the European Union shall comply to the rights and freedoms expressed in the Charter. The ban on death penalty, it shows that we are against that, and Europeans see it as a part of their identity. For example, social rights. We believe in freedom of enterprise, we believe in the free market, but we do not want the people and the poor to be left aside. So social rights for the first time are included in the social charter. And I think that all new technologies are also adopted in the charter. We used to talk in the past about freedom of speech, but now we have to talk about internet and any other technologies that we are using. So I think it is a charter for the 21st century which gives more rights to the people, and that's the crucial thing. More rights to the people, more rights to the Europeans, to be safe that every legislation piece coming from the Union shall comply with the rights expressed in the Charter.
The treaty creates the post of President of the European Council, the quarterly summits of EU heads of state and government that take place here in Brussels. The President will be appointed for a term of 2.5 years. The holder of this position will oversee summit meetings and represent the Union externally. It's expected that this change will help to provide more coherence to the Union and its agenda, as Jean-Luc Dehaene explains.
What we create is a permanent 2.5 year chairman of the European Council, not the European President, and that will be in the fact how that will be translated by the person that will be nominated will be crucial, even if the treaties define to a certain extent the function. The person that is nominated will be very important to see what role that president of the chairman of women of the European Council will play.
One of the big changes to the Council of Ministers that will now occur is the extension of qualified majority voting. This means it will no longer be necessary for all member states to agree for a legislative proposal to be approved by the Council. This change is aimed at streamlining decision-making to ensure that the majority of member states can't be held back by a minority. Criminal law, social security, energy, the EU budget, border controls, asylum, immigration, transport and culture, all these areas which until now required unanimity among member states will now be subject to qualified majority voting. Specific safeguards have been built into the treaty. Laws will only be passed if 55% of member states, representing 65% of the EU's population, are in favour.
Policies need to be sharp and quick. And therefore, if decisions are not taken by unanimity but by qualified majority voting, which means a lot of member states and a lot who represent a lot of people, it's not just a simple majority, I think that will be a profit for the Europeans who are asking us, we want legislation at European level, we want it quick and we want it sharp.
The Lisbon Treaty is designed to make the EU more democratic, and the embodiment of EU democracy, the European Parliament, stands to gain substantially from the treaty. The Parliament will enjoy full co-legislative powers with the Council in a wide range of new policy areas. For example, the Parliament will have a much greater role in scrutinising the EU budget, passing laws related to agriculture and developing the Union's trade policy. Until now, many of these policy areas were the exclusive preserve of member states in the Council. That means the MEPs you elected having more of a say on matters you care about.
The strange things about European policy was that powers who were at national level in the hands of the national parliaments were transferred to European level and were left in the hands of the governments, which made little sense. With the new treaty, the European Parliament, body which is elected by the people of Europe, will have a saying, a final saying, at equal footing with the Council on nearly all pieces of legislation. For example, today, on agricultural policies, on fisheries, the European Parliament has only a consultative right. With the new treaty, it will have co-decision. It will be on equal footing with the Council. So I think the new treaty means more power to the people, because the members of the European Parliament represent the people. That's good for democracy, that's good also for all Europeans.
The Lisbon Treaty is also about projecting the Union's profile and values abroad. And to do that, the treaty establishes a High Representative for Foreign Affairs, what in effect will be an EU Foreign Minister. Lisbon also creates an External Action Service, effectively a diplomatic service that will support the work of the High Representative. The thinking behind this is to make the EU more of a diplomatic heavyweight on the world stage, and for member states to present a united front on the most important foreign policy issues. It will also enhance the EU's voice in favour of human rights worldwide.
It was important to make a bridge between the Council and the European Commission, to have also continuity in the policy, and that's the reason why we create that double-headed function of High Representative Vice President of the Commission, that we make also that High Representative Chairman of the Council for Foreign Affairs, and being also Vice President of the Commission, he can make proposals that have the support, also the financial support of the Commission. And the guess is that that double-headed function can indeed be the basis for a strong foreign policy.
The treaty enshrines the principle of subsidiarity, the idea that the EU shouldn't take action in a specific policy area if the goals of that action can be better achieved at national or regional level. To that end, the treaty sets out the rights and duties of national parliaments with regard to future EU legislation. In particular, it gives national parliaments much more opportunity to scrutinise laws and to ask the Commission to think again if they consider the Commission's plans to be contrary to subsidiarity. So far from undermining national democracy, the treaty provides parliaments in the member states with more chances than ever to hold the Union to account.
The real role of the national parliaments is to control, to follow what their ministers do in the Council. And for instance, the Scandinavian parliaments has no problem with that because they are organized. But a lot of parliaments are not organized, and so they ask for a specific procedure.
The decision of Ireland's voters to approve the treaty now paves the way for its full ratification and implementation, probably sometime early next year. And now, after a decade of EU introspection and searching for its future destiny, the Union has the framework to emerge an even stronger force for democracy and prosperity.